A very good Monday to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to today's European Outlook. It is the start of another working week, and boy, what a weekend it has been in terms of temperature anyway. Upwards of 19.1 and 19.7 respectively for UK maximums both Saturday and Sunday. This is the past 7-day temperature anomalies of CDAS, and this is the upcoming 7 days of the ECM extended. We are going to see colder conditions moving south-southwestwards as we progress through, and are seeing that as we progress through the course of today. We're starting to see the core of warmth now getting shifted east and southeast over the continent. These are the current temperatures at the time of recording, which is just after 5 p.m. Temperatures as low as 4 Celsius at Loch Lisgarnock, still holding on to some warmth down across the south. I think we did scrape 16, 17, possibly an 18 in the far south of England this afternoon. But that cold air is drilling south. If you throw in the wind chill, we are talking about a notable chill out there and a notable contrast north and south, only holding on to wind chills around about the freezing mark or just above in a couple of spots, are quite widespread actually across the north. But further south, you're still holding on to 15, 16 Celsius. Whether it be St. Catherine's Point on the Isle of Wight or at Chevener. So certainly we are seeing that cold air sinking south. This is the current radar imagery showing, or visible satellite, should I say. You can see here that the cold air, there's a cold front there, sinking its way south, and you can see the speckled nature of the clouds here as those convective showers run in from that stiff north-northeasterly airflow. That will continue to sink its way south over the next 24 hours or so. There's that deep area of low pressure spinning just to the west of Portugal. We have been seeing some very heavy precipitation, windy conditions, nasty conditions, and colder than average temperatures down across much of Iberia over the course of the weekend just gone and through the start of this week as well. And what we've also got is quite a contrast across Europe. While we've got some very mild temperatures across many areas of Central Europe, this is the current temperatures across the continent. And you can see here that we are holding on to some very mild conditions across many areas. We're starting to chip away at that mild conditions, but still you're holding on to mid-teens across central Germany. And this is obviously with the sun setting or just about to set as well. You're holding on to, we're only on the 10th of March, and to have these kind of temperatures, especially over East and Southeast Europe at this time of the year, that is a notable temperature anomaly in terms of warmth. Look at down across Northern Africa, we're holding on to low 30s at this hour across parts of southern Tunisia, in the central areas of Algeria as well. So yeah, a lot of mild air, but not exclusively. We can see here that we've got colder air further north across Norway, Sweden and Finland. This is an interesting tweet here by Aurora Weather HW UK, based in Tromsø, Harry Hardrada, showing that basically spring is typically the snowest time of the year in Tromsø, which is northern Norway, and is currently keeping to those standards up to 70 centimetres or 28 inches now, highest amount since mid-January. So finally, after some exceptional mild during the heart of the winter season, we're now seeing the temperatures where they should be for this time of the year, and also significant amounts of snow also. So while we're seeing flooding across parts of Iberia, we're seeing major snowfall across the north of Scandinavia, and in between we're talking about the late spring-like warmth. An interesting situation then going on at up in the stratosphere. This is pretty amazing to see. This is the temperature rise at 10 millibars over the North Pole. And throughout the course of the back half of autumn and through winter, temperatures have been below average over the pole. But look at this sharp rise in temperature from around about minus 60 up to minus 20 Celsius in the space of 24, 36 hours. Representative of a major southern stratospheric warming, likely the final warming, as we are not likely to see the recovery back to westerly winds surrounding the polar vortex. This is the 30 millibar level, and that is astonishing to say the least. You're talking about nearly minus 75, warmed to what, minus 28 Celsius. That is an incredible rise in temperature over the course of 24 to 48 hours. Now, looking at the 10 millibar level, then this is how things are looking at the moment, according to NOAA. You can see the very strong warming now starting to show up over the top of the pole, forcing a displacement of the polar vortex into the North Atlantic stretch between eastern North America and Western Europe. This is how it's looking then by the time we reach day 10. And you can see here that we've got that warming right across the top of the hemisphere, and the polar vortex is essentially blown to bits due to this major stratospheric warming that has taken place. So the month so far in terms of temperature anomalies through the first 10 days of the month is looking like this here. So we essentially have wiped out that cold anomaly across the southern UK, and much of Europe is running warmer than average. But interestingly enough, this is the next 30 days according to the ECM extended, and you can see that we are average to slightly below average in terms of the temperature. This is the period between Sunday the 9th of March through Tuesday the 8th of April. And if we look at the over the top of the hemisphere, this is how it's looking in terms of the upper heights. Now, based on what's going on up above, it's going to be very interesting to watch this. This is the next 30 days according to the ECM extended, and it's showing this North Atlantic Greenland block situation with a trough trapped underneath it. And this is likely indicative of what's taking place up in the stratosphere. What's going on at the moment is likely to have lasting effects down within the 500 millibar and below pattern throughout the northern hemisphere. And like I said already, this doesn't guarantee that we're going to have cold conditions throughout that period. It depends on where you sit. Do you sit underneath the block, or do you sit underneath the trough, the low pressure, the cold pool? You could be either or. It's going to generate some extremes in their own right, whether it be abnormal warmth or abnormally cold conditions for the time of the year. But it remains open to question as to exactly how this pattern is going to evolve. That's been something I've been highlighting for some time now. The cold air is coming south and southeast. We are going to see rain likely down the low levels with sleet and snow mix over moderate to high ground, but the modelling is not overly enthusiastic at providing much in the way of snow cover. This is off the latest Met model, and you can see that we've got high ground snow as you would expect. It's not an abnormally a time of the year where it's not abnormal to see snow during the month of March. It's more difficult to see at lower levels as you progress through the month of March, given the higher sun angle and the strength of the sun, etc. But generally, over high ground, it's not an unusual thing to see snow during the early to middle and even the second half of March. You can still get significant snow even into the month of April. We've seen that in recent Aprils, but it doesn't look particularly moist. Yes, we've got the cold air, but it doesn't look as if we're going to have the moisture to generate the snow. So finally, let's have a quick look at the models then in terms of the overview. So we've got this deep area of low pressure just to the west of Spain and Portugal, generating some very heavy precipitation driven in on a strong wind coming in off the Atlantic here. So a real soaker across many areas of the Iberian Peninsula, especially the further west you go in exposure. That area of low pressure then starts to fill. It then moves eastwards, bringing some heavy rainfall to parts of southern France, into Italy, the Alpine region, and eventually into the Balkan region also. All the while, we can see here this north-northeasterly flow coming in to the UK, and when you put on the 850 temperatures, you can see that we are talking about some very cold air by March 10th standards. And if we look at the bigger picture, this is obviously off the GFS model, but if you look at the bigger picture here, you can see that we've got that connection with the Arctic air. Play through the loop here. You can see that cold air continuing to get driven south. We've got a lot of mild air up into Iceland, all the way up into the Greenland Sea here. And when you're driving that mild air northwards, you're essentially going to drive cold air either side of the block. southwards, and that's exactly what we're seeing over eastern North America and over western areas of Europe. Continuing to play through this loop, you can see that we continue to have that feed of Arctic brand air getting driven southwards over the UK and Ireland right the way through pretty much the majority of the rest of this week. And then into the weekend, we've got higher pressure settling in. And with higher pressure settling in and cold air in place, we could see some particularly chilly nights in particular. So something to keep an eye on. If we look back at the overview chart here, this is how the surface pressure chart is looking like. So that area of high pressure cutting off the northerly fleet, but it kind of traps that cold that's been getting driven southwards throughout the course of the week. If it traps underneath that high with clear skies, light winds, you get some noteworthy frosts. So gardeners beware that we could see increasingly cold nights, especially towards the end of the week when you start to lose that mixing with wind. Looking at the ECMWF model, and let's have a quick look and see. We'll play it back through the loop. So there's that messy conditions over Iberia at the moment. North-northeasterly airflow. We've got some convective showers running that northerly flow. It's going to bring a mix of rain, sleet and snow across the UK, especially eastern areas. But that area of high pressure is acting like a wheel, pulling that cold air in on its eastern flank, as can be seen here. And we continue with that setup as we progress through the rest of this week and in the next week. And it definitely looks as if the modelling is trying to hold that cold airflow into, through this week, the weekend, and even into next week as well. So could be holding for a little time now, actually, before we start to see anything moderate. It looks as if the ECM and the GFS is trying to hold on to this colder idea through a good part of next week before anything milder comes into play. Remember, just a couple of days ago, it was seeing the return of mild quicker. It looks as if the modelling is now backing away from that return to milder, as quick as it was doing. So, going to be interesting to watch going forward. Like and subscribe. Do check out the live stream from yesterday. It was a good one as always, and I hope you can stick around here on the channel. Lots more to come through the rest of this week. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye for now.